It turns out that self-care is actually more than having a bubble bath and getting a massage. Who knew? My name's Rachelle and this is How to Live Slow. Thanks for joining me here today. So I created this channel to help you find an antidote to the overwhelm that comes from being a modern mum and to help you create the intentionally slower family life of your dreams. Real self-care. I shared over on Instagram a couple of days ago, or by the time you're watching this, it would have been a few weeks ago, about what real self-care really is. And it really resonated. So I wanted to make a video all about talking a little bit more in detail about what real self-care is. So self-care has had a bit of a buzz moment over the last few years, and it's really great. But the thing is, with self-care, we can get really caught up on doing it a little bit wrong. And what I mean by that is that you can't polish a turd. So if you are chronically stressed, chronically busy and overwhelmed, having a bubble bath once a week isn't going to fix that. If you're feeling anxious and tired and burnt out, having a massage once a week isn't going to fix that. So those are really nice things to do. I'm not going to deny it. Everybody needs to do those things on some level, whatever works for you. So the truth is that real self-care is probably a little bit more painful, emotionally painful than what you would hope. And that's because it's all about being honest with yourself and admitting your true feelings. And when bad things happen in your life, it's all about processing those feelings and emotions. And if you're a mum, you'll probably have experienced, like I have, some moments with your children where they've really triggered you and they've brought up painful memories of the way that other adults have reacted to what you've done, and they've done a similar thing, and it's really reminded you of some sort of old pain, and it's brought up a lot for you, or you've maybe repeated patterns as a parent. And what's really important is to process all of that so that you can show up as your best self and be the best mum that you can possibly be. And that is all about dealing with your shit and processing everything that you're feeling and working out new and better strategies about dealing with things that are out of your control, and emotions that come up, that you can have some strategies around how you're going to respond when certain things happen that trigger you. And so you can be an emotionally responsible adult and not be so reactive to all the little bad things that happen along in your day. Another really important thing to do as real self-care is to keep your promises to yourself and to other people. And so that means being really strict and creating strong boundaries around your time so that you either say yes or no to the right things. I've made a whole video about how to say no. If you want to watch that, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, what I mean though is when you make a promise or you commit to something, you stick to it. So you really need to go through that video and figure out what is it that you actually want to say yes to, and how can you say no when you can't make that promise. Because once you've committed to something, it's really important that you stick to it, because if you make a promise or a commitment to yourself or to someone else and you let yourself or that person down, it feels really bad and it affects your self-worth. So it's really important, by honoring your own self-worth, you keep promises that you make. So only make promises that you can actually keep, and that leads into creating really strong boundaries and rules for yourself. And it also plays into honoring your time, being realistic about what you can actually achieve in a day and in a week, so that you're not getting to the stage of burning out and being overcommitted and not being able to enjoy your day-to-day life. And that also means prioritizing rest. So this means scheduling in time for restful activities and also prioritizing going to bed at a time that suits when you need to be awake. So I know for me, for example, and a lot of mums do this, we put the kids to bed and then we stay up really late doing all the things because we've got our free time, there's no kids demanding it from us, and then we go to bed too late and then they're up early and we haven't had enough rest, and then we're cranky the next day, so we have to stay up later so that we've got more time on our hands to ourselves, and it's a really negative cycle. But if you can really work towards going to bed earlier. Now, sometimes I've been known to go to bed at 8 o'clock or 8:30, and honestly, it's as much as you miss out on that hour or two of, me time, the real self-care is going to bed earlier. Look at the real reasons why you need to have that me time in the evening. Are you really being productive, or are you just scrolling social media? And do you really want to prioritize scrolling social media over getting really good quality sleep? So I highly recommend considering an earlier bedtime. And then when you do get woken up at 4:30 in summer, like I do with my 2 boys, then you are ready to face the day, and it's not as huge of a toll on your physical body and on your emotional well-being. So also, it is important that you find exercise that nourishes you. So for me, I've also made another video all about the one habit that has changed everything for me, and that's going to Reformer Pilates. And I have that video in the description box as well. You can see all about why going to Pilates has been a keystone habit for me, and it has affected so many different things in my life. So I highly recommend that you check that out. But the basis of it is to find exercise that nourishes you. And to me, when you're postpartum, or I've had 2 babies, I've got abdominal separation, going to things like F45 or CrossFit, it's way too intense. And if I'm going to try and do that, there are certain times of the month where I'm just not going to feel like it. Whereas when I go to Pilates, I feel really refreshed, and I can go light, and it's all up to me, and I feel like I've done something for myself, and I feel positive about the exercise rather than dreading it or feeling like I'm a failure because I can't lift the weights or do the amount of reps required. Rather than depleting you, especially when you have young kids, you don't need anything else being taken from your body. You need to be, nourishing yourself and building back what's been taken from growing a couple of babies. Another really important thing to do as a self-care thing is to sort out your finances. Now, this means setting up a savings account, making sure you're not living outside of your means, not getting into silly debts, paying off your debts, paying your bills on time, paying your mortgage on time, looking at ways that you can build some financial independence and not living week to week, putting in place insurances and all sorts of other things. Obviously, this is just general advice, but getting your financial world sorted, getting all your personal documents, your birth certificate, marriage certificate, whatever, all the insurance documents, passports and everything in a secure location, getting it all sorted out so that if something is to happen, your kids have got the best possible setup, and they're going to be taken care of. We, especially women, a lot of the time we can have this story that money is hard to deal with, but it's actually not. It just takes a little bit of focus and dedication, and you can get yourself really set up as best as possible. So the final thing that I want to talk about in terms of real self-care, and there are so many more, but the final one that I want to talk about is to focus on the positive relationships, the ones in your life where there's significant give and take and the ultimate outcome. Sometimes people are going to need you more than at other times, and that's okay. It's when things are toxic and somebody is being abusive or neglectful or taking more than they give, and it's affecting your mental health and your well-being, or it's affecting the way that you react and engage with other people in your life, then that might be time to at least distance yourself, if not eliminate those relationships. So when you implement real self-care and you are honest about your feelings, you process your emotions, and you get everything in alignment, what happens is actually incredible. You stop having a life that you're trying to run away from and self-soothe through procrastination, through drinking and eating too much, and self-sabotage kind of activities and habits, and you start living a life that's more in alignment with what you actually want to achieve in this life. Thanks again for joining me. My name's Rachelle. This is How to Live Slow, and I have so enjoyed having your company in this video today. I will see you next week for another video. Bye!